Is Mohamed Salah Liverpool's greatest ever player? And if not, what else can he possibly do? Khaled is a Liverpool fan, probably the one person in this conversation that I think is going to be very pro Mo Salah. So let's hear your pro Mo Salah pitch.
Um, Obviously, it's because he's a foreign player and not a British or a Scouse. I think he's done enough to put his name in that bracket to be considered as the greatest. Of course, he's completed everything as a player from an individual and collective standpoint. Um, so I don't think he can do anything more than what he's already done. Um, However, I do understand when people say it means more when it's like one of your own players from the academy or from the city. Hence why Steven Gerrard is always the number one answer. But I think Salah has done enough to put himself in that conversation. Maybe amongst the newer generation, like the next generation, I think they might be the ones that will look at him in that way as the greatest ever player for Liverpool. But like I said again, I do understand the aspect of the guy is Steven Gerrard is Scouse. He's been through. He knows the city. He's from the city. He knows the club. So I think I understand why he's considered as the greatest. So, but like I said, Salah, he's completed everything you can do as a Liverpool player from an individual and collective standpoint. So unless he becomes the all-time great goal scorer, beats Ian Rush, which I don't think will happen, no chance. But if that was to be the case, I think then he'll be considered as the number one. I would say. Aside from that, that's the case I can make for him, honestly. Aside from that, I do think, and I understand why Steven Gerrard is unanimous in that aspect.
Mm, I don't know, man. I'm at this stage now where I'm going, for whatever reason, when people go, "Oh, Salah is the greatest," but if there was, like, what we're basically saying is, if Salah had a Scouse accent, he'd be Liverpool's best ever player. Like, I hear it, like the loyalty towards a Scouse player. Carragher did a whole thing on about why, like, Trent's not a legend if he leaves, etc., etc. I fully hear it, but it also doesn't actually make sense. Like, if you actually deep it, like, why does that
Listen,
make
yeah,
sense?
this is what's going on here. Half the thing is the fact that he's not the White Scouser and all that. The other half is he's played in good teams throughout. So when you think Gerrard, your memory is going to a one man like brigade, this one man just carrying 10 shit players by themselves, and he's just like this hero. Yeah, it's almost like he's got a cape on, bro. When you honestly think back to your memories of watching Gerrard play, it's like he's a superhero amongst minions. Whereas Salah, you're like, oh, but you had Mane, oh, you had Firmino, you've got Diaz, you've got all of this going on. It's not as uplifting as a narrative. You can't make a Hollywood film really out of Mo Salah's career. It's just good. It's just brilliant. Whereas Gerrard, bro, you're
It was
selling.
heroic. Like
It's
you had that.
heroic.
Yeah.
There's that
No,
emotion attached to
and
it. But if you
to be
remove
fair,
that, Mo Salah is the best.
no, I was gonna say the reason that this Liverpool is having this much success is because Gerrard kept you relevant. Like you take Gerrard out of those teams for the last 10 years, and you're in no position to be competing for anything. Like he was the one that was making you like single-handedly winning Liverpool games, single-handedly winning Liverpool trophies with screamers and willing comebacks on a la the 3-0 in the Champions League final. But it's just Steven Gerrard. I think there's just certain clubs that are synonymous with players, and Gerrard will always be Liverpool. Like it's just because of that period. Yes, a bit of nostalgia, but it's just those performances in such key games, winning trophies for them single-handedly. Like you can't say Mo Salah has won any trophy single-handedly. It's always been a collective. It's always been Jurgen Klopp, Trent,
But then
Mane,
would would
Firmino.
would
He has been
Liverpool
a key
win
player.
the trophies without Salah?
Sorry.
Would Liverpool win the trophies without Salah?
Maybe not, but then at the same time, in all of the finals and down the key stretch, Mo Salah's numbers aren't that great. Like every Premier League title run from like February till about the end of the season, Mo Salah's numbers weren't as good as maybe Mane's. Or in cup finals, it was Mane that was scoring. In semi-finals, it was Mane that was scoring. So yes, Mo Salah is a massive contributing factor to Liverpool's success over the last 5-6 years, but he isn't the main reason. Alisson is just as important. Van Dijk is just as important. In certain years, Mane was just as important. He was a cog in a very important machine, like a machine that was working as well as everybody. And if you take any one of those guys out, I can say the same thing about Van Dijk. If you took Van Dijk out of that team, would you win? If you took Alisson out of that team, would you win? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
But here's my counter argument: Mo Salah in a perfectly oiled machine does his job to an absolute T and then some, right? And then some.
Van
He
Dijk does,
still
to be fair,
overperforms,
but it's
but
still I mean, you can say the same thing for Van Dijk and Trent and Alisson,
I
who
agree.
are
But
arguably the best goalkeeper ever, arguably the best centre back ever, and arguably the best right back ever. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So they're all,
Great
they're
team of
all
individuals.
incredible.
but my counter argument to you then is that you can't. Gerrard, we've never seen him do that. Like it's just as difficult to play your role and be disciplined and just deliver where it matters as it is to just be the free role. I'll do everything because everyone else is rubbish. Like we've seen Gerrard try to play a structured midfield when he had Lampard, you had Rooney, Owen, Scholes, all these other ballers, and it didn't. There's bigger reasons why England didn't work, but we've also seen him fail at that. We've seen him fail the well-oiled machine experiment. He's just been the free spirit, and he's done that brilliantly. So
Good point. Can I just ask a question really quickly? Just really quickly. I was thinking this when you were talking about why do we always bring these greatest ever Salah conversations after a couple of tap-ins? Like, why is it after some
I
goal?
knew this was
Like,
coming.
no, I'm not. I'm not even trying to be funny or anything like that. But why is it like directly after two goals that came from a combined 4 yards out? We're having, is he the greatest Premier League player of all time? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
numbers don't lie, though. It keeps happening. He'll score a
It's,
screamer. Was it Brighton? He scored a screamer.
Yeah, Brighton.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was against Brighton. Yeah.
He's sprinkling those in.
I
Like
mean,
when you
I'm
watch the
gonna pick my
highlights reel in
battles.
10
I'm
years,
gonna pick my battles because I know what kind of panel I'm on right now. Right, there's no Connor here. Do you know what I'm trying to say? There's no middle ground here. I know where I'm at, but I'm just saying, like, it's just anyway.
I think this conversation is now happening like every week, basically, and that I think is
Well, it's
testament to
happening
him because like every week it's like,
Yeah,
is he the
it's simply because he's a talking point every week. He's doing something every week. But again, I think I understand where people come from because from a general point of view, like when he plays this season in particular, he don't influence the game like every second of it, or like he's like minimal touches and then maximum impact, and that's just the stage he's at in his career.
scary, bro? It's scary
He's
that he
efficient,
could do
very
that.
efficient.
But again,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Anyway,
would put that down to how. I mean, I'm not again. Please don't. It's gonna. I know nobody's gonna clip me and make it seem like I'm a Mo Salah hater and stuff.
bro, before the start of this conversation, you've gone, the man scored a couple of tap-ins, that's why, innit? Like, you sound like a hater to me.
No, I didn't say that. I asked the question: why are we having these conversations after a couple? I mean, if
because
you
it's
want to
hard to
have it,
ignore, bro. 14 goals, 10 assists is no one's done
fair,
that. No one's done double digits before. Thingy, it's hard. It's new ground. Like, how can you
bro.
not talk about new
Again,
ground?
I'll always say this: he's one of the greatest players we've ever seen, but there will always be players ahead of him, in my opinion.
Unless
Unless
honestly,
he
in
wins a
Salah's
couple more
debate,
Premier Leagues.
He's gonna win one this season. He'll be on 2 by the end of this.
Hopefully not. And this is not a him
but wait,
thing. This
hold
is a
on, hold
Liverpool
on.
thing.
Quick question, Salah, because for those that listen to the pod every week, Salah has history with Salah. If Salah wins his second Premier League this season, would your opinion and the way you perceive him change?
No, because I already think he's one of the top 5 greatest players in the greatest wingers in the Premier League. Top 3 greatest wingers in the Premier League.
Top 5
No,
greatest
top
Premier League
three,
wingers, bro. He's already won.
No,
I thought you were about to say top 5 best ever.
Yeah, he did. He did. Then he realized he's got an agenda.
No. Okay, top 5 players, he's pushing that discussion for sure. But top 3 wingers for sure. I mean, me personally, I'll never have him over Ronaldo and Hazard. That's just me. Everyone else, cool. In terms of attackers.
Would you agree that there's an element of
Preference,
preference,
preference.
but discarding output over like for aesthetics? If you agree, Salah's output's greater,
every
but
time we
Hazard
talk
looked
about,
better doing it.
But people, when people talk about Hazard, people talk about it like it was just aesthetics. He was picking up the ball from his own box and creating things out of nothing. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it wasn't just like, do you know what I was doing yesterday, just in my free time for no reason? I was looking at Salah's heat map since he's been in the Premier League, and what's it called? Hazard's heat map. And Hazard's heat map is like there's no red anywhere. Like there's no like dark red anywhere. It's just, but then Salah, his darkest patch is inside the box on the left of the inside the box. You know what I'm trying to say?
That's
They're
just
two
as
completely
difficult.
different players.
That's just
Yeah.
as
So if I
difficult.
can interject, yeah, I just think ultimately, I'm against the comparison in general because of the fact that there are 2 players that ultimately have 2 different responsibilities. That's how I see it. I can't compare them. I just feel like
That's fair.
that's how I look at it.
And then that's where it goes down to who do you prefer. All I'm saying is Cristiano Ronaldo, because he won the Ballon d'Or in the Premier League and he was out of this world, and Eden Hazard because I think after Ronaldo he's the greatest. But I mean, again, I'm not taking anything away from Mo Salah. Like he's one of the greatest ever. Like
All right, Salah, we're going to have a full-blown conversation about this when you don't have an appointment to get to,
yeah,
because I
that's
think we
yeah,
need
yeah,
it. At the
yeah.
end of this season, we're going to have that conversation.
Gareth Bale was a better
Um,
winger than Hazard too, but we'll have that conversation another day.
That's if we're doing peaks, that's a conversation. That's a different conversation. If we're talking about like, we're not going to get into this right now. We've got an agenda of things to get through, but yeah,
yeah,
shout out Mo Salah,
yeah,
I'm tapping
yeah.
that.
I think it's because he stole your name, man.
Yeah. Anyway, the guy says he hasn't got an agenda, but every 2 minutes called a couple of times. Anyway, Spurs Liverpool. I think the dialogue that's been going on obviously is that Liverpool pan Spurs. The dialogue I actually want to have is that this morning people are saying that like Ange is a disgrace. I'm so confused by this. Like, obviously he's kind of landed in this position where people used to like him a lot, and British culture, as we know, like if you like someone a lot, they're gonna get buried soon enough.
Yeah,
And
they
now it's
build
gone
you
the
up and they
complete.
just bury you straight away.
Yeah, and now like everything he says, people are like, it's embarrassing. He said something like, I think he said, "This is how we play" or something after the United game. Then he said the same thing after the Liverpool game. And now people are going like, I'd be embarrassed if he was my manager. But realistically, like he's Tottenham's manager. Like he's not Manchester United's manager trying to win a league, or in recent time Liverpool or Man City. He's Tottenham's manager. Like their level is not quite where they're at. They should be at a slightly higher level, but I'm kind of like now at this point where I'm going, is it, do you like a guy for his philosophy or do we like a guy for his results?
Bro, listen, yeah. I've felt passionate about this because Spurs fans are some strange entitled fan base. You had Fraser Forster in goal. The guy's probably about 45 by now, yeah. Pedro Porro, Archie Gray, who's a centre mid, then a right back, third position that he can possibly play centre back. Probably the first 2 games he played centre back in his career. Then Dragerson, he's all right, and then you've got Jed Spence, who couldn't see the bench for the last 2.5 years, starting at left back when he's a right back. What do you want a guy to do with that? That's not even Southampton probably got 2 better centre halves. Howard Bellis probably walks into that team right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I
what?
think
It's so harsh.
people are very disingenuous with Ange because, like you said, he doesn't have the players available to play the football that he wants to play. Fraser Forster cannot play with his feet, for example. And then you've got the likes of, like you said, Archie Gray, Dragerson, and Jed Spence, who are just they're just a group of misfits in this moment in time. But if you look at Guardiola when he first came into the Premier League, you look at his back four or his back five when he came in, he wanted to play the football that he wanted to play. Didn't
I mean, they
necessarily
still
have
cost
the
about
players.
200 million to be fair. I mean,
But
that
no, but this is
he
what
still
I'm
had
saying.
Vincent Company
No,
and
the
Joe.
point I'm trying to make here
I know,
is
I know what you're trying to get to, but like,
no. The point I'm trying to make it is the quality of the personnel available. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Look at Southampton, Russell Martin. Why did he get sacked? He can't play. He tried to play a brand of football with the wrong type of players, and like Ange has said throughout the entire season, or when the moment he arrived, he's never going to change the way he wants to play. He's always going to stick to what he knows and what he loves to do best.
But
So,
bro,
so
what I'm saying to Spurs fans is on that point, you scored 3 goals against one of the best defenses in the Premier League this season. You lost 6-3. On paper, that game you could be losing it 3-1 anyway. You saw a cracker of a game. You saw 9 goals. What's there to moan about, bro? It's lit.
and after the Carabao Cup game against United, and he was like, "Are you not entertained? This is how we're gonna play." And so you celebrate it when it works and you win a game, right? So the discourse was so different a few days ago. Everyone's like, "Yeah, I guess this is it. We just got to accept it. We're just gonna attack. We might concede a few goals, but then the minute you lose, it's like, oh my god, he's a I mean, you can't have it both ways." And
like he
I
can't
mean,
win either way.
Nubaid said something like spot on. Like, why are they so entitled? I don't understand. Like, you don't. Football owes you nothing. You've not won anything for 30 years. At least you're getting good football. At least enjoy that for now. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're in a
Yeah,
semi-final
I
of a
think
cup. You might get to it. I mean, I don't understand where this entitlement comes from.
And you had Mourinho, you had Conte, and they would try to 1-0 their way. And you said, we're bored, we just want entertaining, we just want entertainment. So now you've got it, innit? Entertainment doesn't guarantee winning, but you're entertained. You won 4-3. What was it, like 5-0 the week before that or something? And then 6-3. Like,
yeah.
you've seen like 17 goals in 3 games. 2 wins and a loss. Fair, that was pretty spot on to me.
I think also like what worked against honestly, if you watch the United and Liverpool games side by side, they're almost identical. The difference is Liverpool have world class finishers and United don't. So it's kind of like if you'd done that to United and you did it perfectly, and I think they could do it to probably 15 of the teams in the league if they're on it, and 5 of the teams will probably beat them on any other day. That is still like top 6 form. And that is where Tottenham are. Like, they're not, if you think about the top 4, maybe not this season, but generally the top 4 is City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, or United, or Villa, or Tottenham. So you got one seat, and there's 3 or 4 teams after that seat. There's no guarantee that Spurs should just get that seat all the time. And I think if he has his 12, and the one thing I would counter actually is if he has his 12 players fit, is it his 12, 13 man squad that he wants fit? We saw last season how well they played with that 11. The moment 1 or 2 get injured, that doesn't work anymore. That's the only point where I go, maybe he could be a little bit more adaptable.
I do
I think the
agree.
biggest
But however, if you look at the players, like after those 13, 12, 13, 14, is a significant drop off. And you look at the players that they signed, they're not players that are readily established players. You look at the signings like Archie Gray, Bergval, so on and so forth. Like a lot of them are for the future. Like they bought like 18, 19, 21-year-olds that can grow in, like can grow into, year in, year out, but they don't have players that can hit the ground running that are like good enough options from the bench. Solanke is probably the only signing I think that they've made that's instant, like just jumps into the team.
But there's also a stark difference, and those things don't lie at the manager's door. City from under 12s up to first team, they're playing the same football, they're playing the same method. Their academy is applying the same structure when they're scouting and signing players. Daniel Levy's not got that kind of operation running right now, and that's on him.
I think he's the biggest problem when it comes to him and the type of players that they recruit. I think the recruitment does
I think the
solve
biggest
a lot of the problems.
biggest frustration with Ange is just the lack of consistency in results. I think that's what Tottenham fans, even though I 100% disagree with these whole Ange out, disgrace, I disagree with that. But I think there is an element of frustration when you beat Man City one week, but then you lose to Ipswich the next week.
But
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
but that's the
That's
squad. Like Basuma can look.
Mm.
Basuma's a 9 out of 10, 3 weeks out of 7. But he's a 5 when he's not an 8. He's not just a 7. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Romero can look world class sometimes, and he can give away 2 penalties in one game. Pedro Porro can give you 2 assists and leak 5 chances the other side. Udogie the same. Like if your squad's inconsistent, Brennan Johnson inconsistent,
Yeah.
Werner. Let's not even get into that. Like it's that's
I
then reflected.
do agree with I do agree with Salah's point. It is very true. Like look at them, they batter City and they lose to I don't know, Ipswich or
In the
whatever
space
it
of like
was.
3 or 4 days,
It's
I'm trying to say that's kind of
But
like,
when you
as a
look at the
fan,
games generally,
yeah.
Ange has coached a win. Like it's just those individual errors that player can't finish, or a player makes a silly error and then they concede. I just feel like that's just what it comes down to. And again, maybe it comes down to quality of the players, or personnel, so on and so forth. But the
I
underlying
think
numbers are not bad.
we're judging it from such like an elite lens because we're like we're none of us are watching, and we might be now. We're going to talk about it in a second, but we're not watching Forest and Bournemouth. Do you know what I mean? When we're watching them here and there. But when we're watching Tottenham, they're on TV every week, and they've always like they're almost like attached to the big teams. So you end up watching lots of Tottenham. But then when you really deep it, like Destiny Udogie is a £12 million left back. Compare that to Man City. Compare that to Arsenal. Arsenal spent 100 million on 2 left backs. So it's like naturally you're gonna have this like up and down position that Spurs are in. The only real world class player they've had over the last 3 or 4 seasons is Son and Kane, and they've delivered every
Yeah,
week. Like they're doing their thing, but it's like Kulusevski's been really good now, but he'll probably tail off in the second half of the season. Madison's probably, and I really like Madison by the way. He's probably embodies where Spurs are right now. First half of last season, you're thinking, wow, like this guy's on a plane. He's going to be England's man. Build a team around him. Second half of last season, he couldn't even get in the team, and now he's getting hooked on 70 minutes every week. That for me is Spurs' DNA from as long as I can remember it. They had players like David Ginola, like would like get you off your seat, but then they've equally had players who put the ball in the back of the net, back of
yeah.
their own net, like 6
And
times.
bro,
So
if
I think
you
it's a valid point. I think because commercially, Tottenham are a big team, like one of the biggest. I mean, they're in London, brand new stadium. As you said, they're on TV every week, but they're not. They don't have big team credentials essentially in terms of like trophies and winning. So they're in a bit of a limbo where you think, okay, cool, this is when we can challenge, but you've never challenged before. So I think that's where the confusion comes from.
Also, I just want to say with Ange, sorry, just to end, just quickly, I think he's in year 2. He's in year 2 of his project. I think people need to give it time. Again, ultimately as well. Like I said, he's not the finished article. This Spurs team is not the finished article. So they still have a relative long way to go, and things can change down the line. But I just think with the Tottenham fans, they just need to get behind him and just see where it goes.
And I think
Right.
to wrap that up as well, I'll just say to Tottenham fans, if you look at the best team in the league right now, you can take Jota off the bench, Darwin Núñez off the bench, Gakpo off the bench anytime you like, right? You've got Timo Werner, Richarlison, and Wilson Odobert if he's fit. So just contrast the two and tell me why you are where you are. The answer is in the playing squad. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, there's levels. We've been killing Tottenham. Although actually, I think we've been quite fair in comparison to what some people have been saying. But let's steer elsewhere. Very quickly, Torn Sports have supported the podcast for a little while now. What I want to know is who you guys think tore it up this weekend. I'll go first. Obviously, Mo Salah knows what I'm going to say. Mo Salah tore it up this weekend without question. Like, he's got 15 goals, 11 assists at this point in the season. No other player's done it. And I love the fact that post-match they asked him about Ian Rush, and he said Rush must have been playing 7v7s because there's no way you're scoring that many goals. So Mo Salah for me. Mo Salah, I'm guessing yours is not Mo Salah.
It's not, no. It could be a plethora of Aston Villa players, but I'm gonna go with Yuri Tillmans. He was absolutely amazing. There was a point where the commentator was like, "We need to stop complimenting this guy," and the other commentator was like, "No, we don't. We need to carry on." He was magnificent every time he touched the ball. It could be Morgan Rogers, it could be Onana, but it could be Duran, could be any of the defenders. But I'm gonna go Yuri Tillmans is my tore it up player of the week.
Go on, Khaled. I feel like he nicked that off you because
No,
you
no,
look like you were
that was
going
an
to say
amazing shout. Honestly, I didn't think about him, but that is an amazing shout. I've gone with Alexander Isak. Got his hat trick against Ipswich. Played brilliantly. I think he's got 10 goals, 4 assists in I think 15 games he's played so far. So and last season he got 21 league goals. So for a player who's had this label of being inconsistent or unreliable in terms of fitness, I think he's been incredible this season and last season. Picked up where he left off. So 10 goals, 4 assists so far this season. He was brilliant against Ipswich, and I feel like in the summer I don't know where he's gonna go, but I don't see him at Newcastle next season, anyways.
Yes, and he's a Somali brother as well.
Yeah.
We're championing that. Listen,
Fellow
if
neighbour.
Somali brother scored a hattie and we don't talk about him in the pod, that's wrong from us. Go Squib.
I am going to give it to my favourite kind of baller, the one that you'd forget in 10 years. He'll retire, no one will even know. Jacob Murphy. Now, Jacob Murphy is on a tear at the moment, and the guy is a championship baller at best, really and truly. He should be there. Even in 2020, he was on loan in the championship. He's probably 26, 27 then. So he's not like he's not young, he's not old, but he's just playing out of his skin right now. This is a man who's listened to what the manager wants from him. He's giving you the old proverbial 110%. And bro, he scored a banger. His output's there. He's working hard. He's there over more fancy names. I love them kind of Donnies. In 35, 36, he'll just fade away. In 10 years' time, you'll see a Twitter comp of Jacob Murphy, Barclays man, or whatever the league's now sponsored by. That's the kind of guy that I like. And it's not just a good game he's had. He's had a good 3 or 4 weeks, by the way. Just putting it out there. 2 assists 3 weeks ago, then a goal and assist, another 2 goals or something this week. Jacob Murphy, shout out you, man. The world needs more Jacob Murphys.
If I could give one honourable mention. I thought Soboslai was incredible this weekend. I thought he was unsung hero. I thought he was like the man of the match personally. I thought he was my man of the match of that game. He was everywhere, contributed offensively, defensively. He's been inconsistent like last year, but this year it started well, faded away a little bit, improved again, and he's been class since the Newcastle Southampton game and I think it was the City game. But I just thought I'd quickly mention him.
I think Nabe tweeted about Szoboszlai saying he was in like the perfect position on and off the pitch. I think he was brilliant, man. I love players like that. You know what I'm trying to say? He's kind of maybe you're not having the best season or whatever, but he was everywhere yesterday, getting into making the right runs. He looked good yesterday.
Bro, you know when you tweet something and then a goal happens and the exact thing you tweeted happens in the goal, bro. The way I've milked that on TikTok, Instagram, X. I've done it on every platform going because I was like, that's exactly what I was talking about. Very quickly, you don't really show too much love to like teams outside of the top four, mainly because like when are we going to talk about Leicester under Van Nistelrooy? I think I've conceded over 100 shots in 4 games. Like, do you want to hear us talk about that? I don't think so. Although there's a Jamie Vardy documentary coming out, and I do want to talk about that at some point. But more so, let's talk about Forest and Bournemouth very quickly. Legitimately, this could be the season we see a Forest or a Bournemouth finishing 4th or 5th, because the season's erratic. United got dunked on 3-0. And also Bournemouth looked like they deserved to beat United 3-0. It wasn't one of these where like United were really bad. And then Forest winning away at Brentford. Brentford's been a horrible place to go to for anyone else. And they've got players popping up with goals left, right, and centre. Legitimately, do we see a world where one of these two teams actually make Europe this year?
100%.
What's Europe? Because I mean, you can finish 8th and be in Europe because of Conference League.
I mean, I'm not talking about that Europe. That's like Farmers Europe. There's no disrespect to Astana and those guys,
I
but
definitely see one of them getting into Europa League. Definitely, it's not. It wouldn't be like this. I mean, guys, it's New Year's. Half the season's gone now, and if you're still playing this well consistently, things are not going to change that much. You're going to finish 4th, 5th, in my opinion.
I think I look at Forest, for example. Nuno, he's done it before with Wolves, so I do think they can do it. I also think Bournemouth can do it as well. I look in terms of the quality of players that they've got throughout their team. I think they are personally. I think Forest is more defensively more resolute. Good players on it that can hit you on the counter, and they've got Chris Wood up front. Bournemouth, on the other hand, play expansive brand of football, and they've got quality difference makers like Semenyo, Clivert, Evan Nilsson, who I think is one of the best signings this season. And they've got good spine like Zabani, Hoysen, Christie, so on and so forth. So they have good blend across the pitch, Kerkez as well. And yeah, I feel like they have more better individuals, I would say, Bournemouth, and more decisive. So I do think both of these teams, they will get there. I just think Bournemouth, for me, has their underlying numbers as well, incredible, by the way. So I do think both teams, like Salah said, I think when you're this far into the season, I think it's like, 16, 17 games in, I don't see why they can't keep it up.
I love Andoni Iraola, by the way. My only thing is, if they end up in Europe, he's gone next season. I don't think he stays. I think he'll be out the door because there'll be a few other jobs lurking. There's lots of big teams that want new managers. If Ange goes, that Tottenham job is so. Think about it, like I can see Andoni Iraola in Tottenham.
100%. I can see it going wrong for him as well. But just shout out Bournemouth for that as well, by the way. I just want to say, because sometimes we forget our reactions to things, and I just like to call people out. When Gary O'Neill got sacked, everyone was like, "Oh, why's Gary O'Neill being sacked? You brought in this fancy Spanish geezer. What's wrong with the British manager? What's wrong with him?" Look where Gary O'Neill is now, and look how that's panned out for Iriola and Bournemouth. So shout them out, and just shout out the clever recruitment in these teams that are punching above their weight. Like Milenkovic walks into Man United's back two, walks into Spurs' back two. Kirkez better than Luke Shaw. Like Semenyo better than whatever rubbish Timo Werner can put together, or Charlotte. Like these are clever signings, man, and there's value out there. So big them up, and they're working harder than the big teams because they've got less to spend. So better scouting is more, and I love that. That's that little small differences. Respect them.
Yeah, I think you made a really sick point there. I think people we will definitely talk about this on a separate podcast, but the ability to be able to basically level up behind the scenes has a direct effect to how well you can do on the pitch. But because we're so like desensitized to money getting splashed for years, we're just going up when a player comes in for 15 million, we're like, oh man, this ain't gonna work out. And they've quietly just built this like wonderful team that now people are going, oh, he's worth 60 million, he's worth 40 million, he's worth 50 million. Solanke's a great example of that, by the way. When they bought him, people were going, nah, he's not the guy. And then they went and sold him for 80 million, I think, or 70 million.
65, I think it was 65.
I mean, that's crazy amount of
Milenkovic was out there. He's not like he was hidden in. Salah probably knows better. He was there, Serie A, 12 million. Like Murillo, you can say, okay, he's a bit rogue, South America, whatever, but these players are playing in Europe, bro. Why are you spending 50, 60 million on, I don't know, someone else?
I think it's just a classic case of like you just hired a guy who's got a decent rep and he's just gone and signed a bunch of players that he knows of. Anyway, it's a very quick last minute episode coming to you because it's Christmas time. People are off, people are having a great time. And although we're all ethnics on the pod, more or less, apart from James, we also do stuff for Christmas. Like I'm going to be having a halal turkey. Mum's going to be making Brussels sprouts. Legitimately, by the way, the worst food on the planet is Brussels sprouts. You won't catch me touching those, whatever you put on them. disgusting. But yeah, we love Christmas as well. You know, you get a bit of time off. I'm going to New York actually on Christmas Day, so who's complaining?
Tell him.
Yeah, but there's plenty of episodes coming your way. To be fair, we've got a Rashford episode that's been recorded. We've got Play Your Hand, by the way. I'll drop a little snippet of what's to come on that actually at the end of this episode. And we've recorded something else as well. And we've got a special guest episode coming at the start of Jan. So stick about, have a good Christmas, have a good New Year's, and we'll see you on the next one.
None of you have chips on Gerrard though. That's crazy.
Yeah, what's going on?
Because he's not top 2. He's not even top 5. He shouldn't be here.
Eight.
Hold on. He should not be here with these 4. It's a separate conversation.
No, that's crazy.
We've had a conversation about peak. No one's mentioned Gerrard. We've had a conversation about titles and greatness. No one's mentioned Gerrard.
No, 'cause
we've had
he's all round.
We've had a conversation about attributes. No one's mentioned Gerrard.
He's arguably top 3 in all of them. Every single
Facts.
attribute.
Facts. Okay.
This guy was in the team of the year 8 years. 8 times in the Premier League team of the year.